And welcome back to another episode of How's the Market. And this week we're talking about should you buy or sell first in 2026? It is the age-old question, the chicken or the egg, isn't it, mate?
Chicken or the egg?
And I think it really, really stumps people to this one. And I think people don't actually conceptualize or think about it enough strategically in terms of what they're doing. And sometimes it's just you always do this or you always do that.
Yeah, it's so situational. I feel that there's no right or wrong answer to what. It's really dependent on the market as well. So I think
that is the biggest point, which we'll go into. Yeah.
Yeah. So while it might be situational to your needs, in terms of maximizing your profit and getting the best opportunity on the way in, because we always talk about ins and outs.
Yeah.
So if you can buy really well on the way in and sell really well on the way out, and vice versa, that's definitely going to play into the markets and the activity in the markets. And that might lead you to make a decision where we're quite subjective or objective rather. To looking at the situation that's going to work for the client. When you're speaking to real estate agents or friends and family, they might have a certain view. A real estate agent is probably going to have a certain view and a different view to maybe what we would suggest, where they're just going to be sell. You know what I mean? It's just sell. At least that's what I would assume is going to be the easiest course. I have spoken to a few agents where they'll look at the backstory and say, oh, you know what, kids going into year 12 or they're just about to finish year 12, maybe you do go and buy something first, get all of that sorted, and then you can just make the transition a little bit easier. So, let's just say it was in October, November, rather than getting this sales campaign together, go and buy something with a longer settlement, and then we'll sell it in the new year when all of this stuff is done. So anyway, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the different situations, the different opinions, the different views. So
I had that conversation a lot last year of the buying with a long settlement and then selling. Because some people just see that as riskier as well. And I think one of the real estate agent, I think will say sell first. They just always sell because that's when they get paid.
Yeah.
But then the other one that I think can come up a lot is that your mortgage broker can often advise that too, because they want certainty on what you're going to be able to borrow. And it really does depend where you are. If you're a downsizer with no mortgage on your property, you give different advice than if you're a first home buyer and you're paid it down from 90% LVR down to 60, and now you're going back to 90 when you're upsizing into the bigger home, but it's really going to be contingent on what you can sell for. So they're trying to and I get that as well. So if that's definitely a play where you might think about that differently than if you're downsizing or even cross-sizing and just moving out. But I think
cross-sizing.
Well, cross-sizing.
I haven't heard of that one yet.
If you're same mortgage, but you're going somewhere else,
you're moving
makes
sideways.
Sense. Yeah,
moving sideways. So you had that conversation yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think I made that up.
Well, there you go. You might have just coined a new one, mate.
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, cool. But so I think in terms of what to talk about today and how to think about it is I suppose the short message of it is I think it's more market dependent than anything else. So if you were selling a high-rise apartment in the Melbourne CBD, for example, where days of market is huge and, it might be a real struggle to sell that particular property, you probably want to sell that first before going and buying your home because you want to know that it's actually going to be sold in time. Whereas you don't want to go out in a situation like that, you probably wouldn't advise to go out and then leverage up to the eyeballs on the new dream home because you're sick of the apartment living and getting all the space in the backyard. And then it's 60, 90 days roll past and you can't sell. Yeah. And now you're looking down, you're calculating the bridging finance costs. And then you've already bought, but now you're looking at if I can't sell this and I put tenants in it and I get the rent, how much is that going to do? And what about all these OC costs? So it's if the market is really hard for the property that you're selling in, then it's I feel you probably want to do that first. And then on the flip side as well, if it's
the type of apartment, it's the type of the dwelling. So if you're going from that apartment into the house, for instance, the house might be an easier purchase, but as you said, if that apartment's a bit harder to sell, that you got to really depend or look at that situation and say, well, which one do I go or which one do I move first? And if it's going to be, you know, a average apartment in a high rise and it's going to take you like 6 months to sell it,
Yeah.
then obviously you'd want to opt for that one, right?
And it can take 6 months to sell it.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
think that it can't.
No,
and like,
easily.
I mean, we even had a conversation. I remember we were like offering some vendor advisory services to some clients that were out in Phillip Island that were doing a sort of a transition. And I went and I spoke to them and I looked at their home and everything. And I was giving them the days on market for that particular market at the time. And average time to sell out there when I was there was like 160 days. It's like massive. Like it was not a short amount of time at all. And a lot of them were selling for less than they purchased for.
Yeah.
There was just too much land that was all released all at once. There was a heap of new builds, a heap of unfinished projects, a heap of vacant blocks, all just next to each other. And they just all sort of collapsed in and itself, that like market at that time.
Yeah.
And so that is very, very different to imagine that you've got a home in Frankston at the moment and it's like renovated and it's 600 meters squared and it's walking distance to the amenities
turnkey,
and the stations.
you know, like
turnkey.
very, very different from the property that you're trying to sell.
Exactly. Like if you know that is going to sell, if the days on market out there is like 12 days or something, which it has been.
Yeah.
You can sort of know with a good level of certainty that you can go and buy first. And as long as you like have still a reasonably conservative estimate for your sale price, that you can go and buy first with like a good degree of confidence that you're going to be able to just like turn it on and it's going to go and you're going to get sort of what you need in order to transition and move.
Should we touch on here the fact that, let's just say you did go for a 120-day settlement. So you went and purchased 120-day settlement and then you sold your property and that had a 90-day settlement. So let's just say there was like a 30-day disparity on how you can bring that forward, like on the...
Correct.
You know, if all parties agree, you can just bring that forward.
Yeah, and so like when we make offers on contracts, we state it explicitly. But even the standard contracts, like you speak to your conveyancer before making an offer or selling it, either side. But you make an offer with 120 days or earlier by mutual agreement, and especially if you preface that during the beginning, like the negotiation phase, say, hey, look, the vendor might want 60 days. And you're saying, well, look, I need to be at 120 just because I need to buffer in some time because I'm going to sell. But my plan is to bring it forwards and then match your 60. I just need to get my place sold first.
Yeah.
And
it could even be less.
It could even be less.
Yeah.
It could be you go and sell your Frankston house and someone gives you a 30-day settlement.
Yeah. If they're a 30-day settlement, exactly. Like I might get an offer that's 30-day settlement. I'll come to you and say, hey, are you good to settle on this date? And we can bring it right forward.
Bring it right forward. So that's probably one of the biggest things is that settlements are semi-flexible. They can move. You just need to have that open conversation before signing the contract because if one person's like, no, I'm going overseas and I get back on that date, so I have to settle then. It's like, it might be off the cards.
And this is going, we're going to cross track here. Like sidetrack, step over into a piece about negotiation. That's why it's really important to leave a little bit on the bone, like a little bit of meat on the bone when you're going through negotiations with the vendor, because one, you want these kind of things to go through. And then two, if that actually does eventuate and you've gone so hard on the negotiation, you've stuck the knife in and twisted it and throw some salt on it and lemon juice. Yeah. They're not going to want to come to the party when there's anything or when there's anything that's going to benefit you.
Yep.
So you just have to leave a little bit left, and that will allow the communications to be open, everyone to be happy. Like whenever I'm going into a negotiation, it's not me. Like I'm not going to be the one that benefits 100%. It has to be, an even split, or like both parties have to win essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen it before. And I've spoken with agents brutal, before man. Where they're like real nasty and then things go wrong with pre-settlement and they don't want to. It's the like one fighting
that I was speaking to Jason about, like our conveyancer, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. The vendor took this guy over the freaking coals, and I'm talking 40 grand worth of damages. Like essentially that our buyer got issued because he was just so aggressive with the negotiations. and it wasn't great. Like, yeah, you can see it. You can see when vendors just become nasty when, yeah, there hasn't been that like pleasant negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, well, to go into the negotiation side, there is a couple of things that you can do and clauses that you can add separate to just the moving of settlement earlier by mutual agreement that can help protect you when you're a buyer and or a seller as well. So you can put them on either side. And we've done this before for clients. So one of the clauses that you can do is you can add a rent back in. And we had this as an example where we were helping someone downsize and they were really worried about, well, if we sell and I can't find something to buy, I'm going to be homeless. And like that was a real terrifying idea for her. And it was like a serious proposition that she really, really wanted to just mitigate that risk as much as possible. And I was like, we'll find you something, but even like put that aside, assume everything goes wrong. What we ended up negotiating is when we got a property on the market first, someone made an offer to her and we essentially explained the situation and said, look, we're really worried for this client. We want to try to get the longest settlement period possible. And we sort of explained to them like, we're going to try to buy as soon as possible and we might even bring this forwards to 45 or 60 days. But what we want to put onto the contract initially is a 120-day clause. And because it was so serious to her, we also put in an option to lease the property back for 6 months at agreed upon market rent price if she wasn't able to buy.
Yep.
So we literally had, 6 months plus 120 days of flexibility built into the contract when we were selling, just so that we could protect her from this like position. And like none of it, it was a 60-day settlement in the end. But, these are things that we like added in as just like an extra blanket of security if it's something that you're really, really worried about. So something to think about there, you can do rent back clauses again, speak to your conveyancer about putting them in, and you want to get those agreed upon. They have to be part of the offer when you're making that offer as well. You can't put them in after, in the middle of settlement. Like it has to be upfront because that is like a big material difference in your offer compared to someone else's as well. So that can hurt you too. But it's again, you just need to like have that conversation because you're going to be putting that into your contract as like a term as you're giving the contract out to buyers when it's coming in if you're a vendor and you're selling. Now, if you're on the other side, if you're a buyer, you can use license agreements. So license agreements are essentially like you can make an offer for 120 or 180 days for settlement on your home, on the home that you're trying to purchase as a buyer. And then you could put a license agreement in there that says that you get early access to that property and you're paying market rent from 30 days from the contract signing. So that you might have like a 90-day window of you in the property under a license agreement, which would allow you then to, move all of your items across. You might do some repairs in your home. You might do styling, staging, furniture. And then the home is also vacant for your sales campaign.
Yeah.
And then that license agreement could again be ended and brought forwards. If you sell your home straight away and someone makes a 30-day settlement offer, you can bring it all forwards, or you can just sell your home with a 30-day settlement and then keep the license agreement, pay the cheaper, which is going to be the rent because it's more likely going to be cheaper than your mortgage price weekly.
Yep.
And then have the money essentially in your account and like be ready to settle, and you're just operating under that license agreement early. So again, people don't really understand them, know them, or think about them, but they're very, very common. You can get them across the line. You do want to make sure that you have that agreed upon as a part of your offer as well. I know that some people try to put license agreements in place in the settlement period after the contracts are signed, the deposit's paid, it's all said and done. You're in a much worse position to negotiate terms there, and sometimes they just fall over. So you want to make them in the contract essentially a part of your whole offer as well.
Yeah.
You've had some experience with license agreements.
Yeah, and they do work. And I think when you get into these maybe not as mainstream types of offers, like if you're going to go down that road and let's just say you're buying a family home, it's 2.5 mil. So the person that you might be speaking to or the vendor that you're buying from, they're probably selling their family home. You know what I mean? So they're not like these high flyer business people. They're just normal people. And I honestly feel when you get into these situations, a little handwritten note to that vendor, like explaining the situation that the agent can pass over for you is your best case to like getting these things across the line, because you can show the emotion, you can attach, you can connect with them at this same emotion, like how much you love the house, you really want to make this work, this is what I'm looking for. Then the agent can obviously explain it, but they're not going to have that same empathy as what you would through your letter. So I find it can be that little thing that gets it across the line, especially when there's other offers on the table.
Yeah.
Like probably no need if it's, a dead market or it's like really soft and they'll take any offer they can. This is when it's competitive and there's going to be, a couple of other offers on the table that are just very black and white.
And look, I just got a feeling that a lot of these markets are going to be competitive in 2026. If you're listening to this, if you're, out there in the Melbourne market, like you're probably going to be experiencing some level of competition.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important, especially because like to do a lot of these things when you're negotiating clauses, conveyancers are doing it on your behalf.
Oh,
and
it's the worst.
They can sometimes just absolutely fight tooth and nail just for the sake of fighting tooth and nail on contracts.
If you want a deal to go south, give it to two solicitors or two conveyancers to sort out.
Yeah.
It's honestly the worst thing because 90% of them are not commercially aware, and like commercial in the sense of like how to apply the law, in the real world.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, this is what it says in the textbook. So I'm just going to go and do that. And then because that's what it says in the textbook, but I don't understand the ramifications and like how to actually apply that from a level of, looking at both sides.
Yeah.
Because that's just what it says.
They might think about it in the essence of can we beat them and win? But it's like really, it's like the client that they might be representing might actually have a lot of empathy for the downsizer that's really scared of being homeless. And so it's
Mate,
we don't have to destroy them. Like, how about we look after them? And then if something works, we could, they'll help us back.
It's so been in the situation where, a lot of clients, and there was a lot of settlements going on, and we did let solicitors sort things out. And I got this phone call about something, and it was, $1 million purchase or something like that, and like decent amount of money. And obviously we were more interested in that deal or that sale just going through, or that purchase going through. And they were squabbling over a note in the contract about $400, right? Like, so if it doesn't settle on at 4 p.m. or something like that, it was a $400 fee or something like that, right? Like you see them from time to time. And I said, are you serious? Like you guys are battling this over how many emails? And you've now called me. I said, this phone call's not worth the $400 or the risk that thing's going to happen. So I don't care about it. Just leave it. You know what I mean? Like just
honestly,
move on.
in terms of like, should you buy or sell first? Understanding solicitors is actually so important. And as another example to really bring this home for this particular thing is that we recently had some clients we'd helped buy for, they were selling, they got this offer, it was all done off market, and then what essentially happened is that there was a mistake in the contract. They put the contracts together for this offer, rushed it through, mistakes were made from our client's end. They essentially went back to the purchaser and said, we're so sorry, here's all the updated documents, we've put it all together now. Because we've, made these mistakes, we understand that that's really inconvenient for you. We'll take $10,000 off the price. And then their solicitor came back and said, we want $400,000 off the price. And it was a $2 million transaction. So it's like, all right, you've just killed the whole deal.
Yeah, crazy.
But what happened is that they did that, trying to like flex their muscles at the huge disadvantage of the client that they were representing, which was the purchaser of this property. And what happened is that they'd already sold, that purchaser had already sold. And because the deal was killed from her solicitor, she had nowhere to live. And she ended up having to move into a Quest apartment, pay for storage, and then come back to our clients, which were the vendors in this scenario, and say, hey, I'd actually love to take that offer again with a $10,000 discount. I've got nowhere to live right now. Can we do a 7-day settlement? And then it all went through in the end. But her solicitor, from doing this stupid negotiation tactic of asking for $400,000 off the purchase price, essentially made her literally homeless in this scenario and having to move into Quest hotel accommodation and pay for storage costs because of like everything going wrong. So yeah, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of the commercial viability of lawyers and solicitors. A lot of them are good, but there's a lot of them out there that just are not great.
Yeah.
And we've seen that they're a really sticking point in the deals. But just to, I suppose to round this off and bring this home, that there is risks like that involved. And even from the buying side, the major risk that I think people don't understand and quantify is bridging finance and how expensive bridging finance can be to hold, because you're not just like holding two mortgages at once. They're usually going to charge you like a higher interest rate on that as well. So I keep hearing like 9.5% and 10% being thrown around for bridging finance costs. And if it does take you 3 or 6 months, like those fees can be astronomical depending on like what level you're doing this at. So it's really, really important, especially when you're buying as well. Like that's why it's so important to understand the vendor's situation. Like if you're buying and you're a first home buyer even, and they say, no, we need 60 days because the vendor's already bought, like that's when you know that they're in like a really, really tough situation.
Yep.
And I suppose the final piece of advice that I have and that we like actively do for clients is that I think that you should be doing both the buying and selling. We call them like buying and selling campaigns like concurrently at the same time. So if you're planning on buying first because you've got like a really unique brief, like the client I was speaking with yesterday, they want like 1,500 meters squared, like 6 bedrooms, has to be single level, has to be, X distance from the kids, like all of these things. It was like quite a unique brief. And so it's like, that's going to be more difficult, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have already got an agent signed up, already know what your home is worth, potentially already get the floor plan done, potentially already get the copy done, the photos done if you don't need styling, clean your home up for sale, get it fully ready, do some landscaping, do all of those things, and then potentially even have that agent bringing through some off-market buyers, all while you're in your purchasing sort of journey and like out making offers. Because then if you get something that's unconditional and you've sold, you can literally press go and have your home online within 12 hours.
Yep.
And then it's like, all right, first opens that Saturday, like let's go. So you're not wasting so much time and weeks. But I think that's probably the biggest tip from my end, mate. You got anything else to add?
Yeah, no, it's and people might look at that and say, well, that's difficult. You mentioned around vendor services. I think in Victoria, Melbourne specifically, like vendor advocacy is definitely more common. And that's our approach. So we have, it's sort of like a 2-stage approach to the sale, where we would go and get that, styling or whatever we needed to get sorted. Like if there's some small renovations, we'd get all of that completed. Like we obviously help with that. And suggest things as well. So we might go and get some quotes and say, cool, we're going to paint that. We're going to, make the lawns look a bit better, put some turf down, rah, rah, rah. Then we'll get the photos and the floor plan done because it's not that expensive. Honestly, it's like between $400 and $600 to get all of that stuff sorted. You don't need the sales board either. Like you don't need the sales board at this point. And then we would essentially go to the market, like off market. We know other buyers agents, we put it out to them, but then we also use that as a way to start interacting with the agent. So we can bring them through and we can say, hey, this is the property that we've got. And then like the next phase, it's actually probably 3 phases. You would engage the agent. So we would help with that selection of the agent, get them on board. They can use all that same marketing, send it to their off market list. If it doesn't sell at that point, then you can go and open it up. Then you can go and sell it, at auction or do an EOR campaign, but just a normal online campaign. But yeah, so there's this like true off market, pre-market, which is, like test the waters, but it is going on their website, but you're not paying the marketing fees of going on to realestate.com or even the hassle of having, these big opens during the week. You might have a couple of private opens and private showings. But yeah, that's really the approach, and it can take a lot of pressure off, and it can get a really good result. Like we've had, I don't know how many we've done over the years, but they're always positive. Like they're always like this really positive event. And yeah, I like that side of it too. You know what I mean? Like that vendor advocacy side, especially when we've got the purchase on, like if it's a if it's a sell and then a buy or a buy and a sell.
Yeah, marrying them up.
Yeah. It's just a really good way for this client to like get a seamless transition into whatever that next house looks like. If it's an upgrade, cross. What did you call it before?
What do I call it? Cross-sizing.
Cross-sizing. So or downsizing. So it does work.
Yeah, and I think like the whole goal of what we try to do in situations like that is just reduce the stress. Like that's because it is a stressful time. Like buying and selling. Like if you're full-time working as well, and you're maybe you've got kids and maybe you've got sports or whatever else on the weekend, and you've got to manage both a full buy and the full sell campaign.
Yeah, some people get it, some people don't, right? Like, and there's a lot of people out there where it's just too much, and it'll be analysis paralysis. Like you don't end up doing anything because it's just like, that's too hard. You know what I mean? It's way too hard to make this transition, and it'll go to, region beta paradox where, things aren't bad enough to make a change. So you just keep where you're at, where ultimately, if you did make the change, your life would be better.
And think about what happens if you do it well. If you have to sell and you're in a position where you're forced to sell quickly because you've bought and your campaign's not doing well, and you can't afford bridging finance because you might not even qualify for bridging finance, and then you have to sell at a reduced rate, and it's like, all right, well, it passed in, take $50,000 of asking, and like that's the position that you're coming from.
Yeah,
like it can be more than 50,000 off asking. It can cost you hundreds on the way out, and then if you sell first and you don't get that right, and then you have to buy and you've missed out at 2 auctions, and you're like, just chuck in money, like we need to get this one or otherwise we're going to be homeless, then it can really, really cost you. So I think, but if on the flip side, if you sell really, really well and you have the perfect campaign and you align it all up and the timing goes well and you get multiple offers and it's really competitive, then you can do really, really well on the sale. And if you're clever about buying and you buy well on the other side as well, then you can actually, it's not like this is going to be costing you just because of stamp duty and everything. You can actually make a lot of money on the whole exercise as well. So I think that's what we're trying to encourage and help clients to see and do when they're going through this whole journey.
Yeah, for sure. It can be focused on that profit as well. Like if you're going through the client that you spoke about before, we bought for them, helped them sell, and we're buying for them again. You know what I mean? So they're going through this journey, and it can be quite profitable.
Yeah, I mean, we bought for them very well, and we helped them with that sale as well, and they sold very well. And I mean, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you do like today's episode, please follow along, and if you could share it with some people, that would be amazing. And until next week, we'll chat with you guys then. See ya.